Our lives are laid out on a road of bumps, turns, struggles, and more. How do we respond? How do we endure adversity for learning and growth? I'm Aubrey Johnson, and we'll explore these questions and more on the road to rediscovery. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Road to Rediscovery. I'm your host, Aubrey Johnson. The Road to Rediscovery is about reflecting on life lessons to learn and grow from them, and of course, pay it forward and uplift others who are struggling through dark times. If you wish to connect with the Road to Rediscovery beyond the weekly episodes, I want to personally invite you to follow our Road to Rediscovery Facebook page. We are a collective positive vibe of 815 followers strong and counting, chock full of thought provoking, inspirational quotes. There's posts of positivity, solo and guest video shorts, and a lot more. There's something for everyone on this page who are seeking motivation and inspiration. Just search for the page, R2R Podcast. While you're on Facebook, select it, then click follow. And while you're there, if you feel you would recommend this podcast to someone, please click the reviews link and share your thoughts of the show. Again, the name for that search is R2R and podcast. And as always, thank you so much for your listenership. All right. My special guest is a sales leader at Microsoft who previously worked at Google and is now a renowned author and speaker on trauma and transformation. 7 years ago, she was crossing the street towards her husband's car when another car struck her, not once, but three times to the point where she was trapped under the car. Amazingly, she survived and now uses her story, her experience to inspire others. She shares her journey through public speaking and in her book, The Unexpected Benefits of Being Run Over. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome for Naseem Rochette. Naseem, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here.
It's so great to be here. Thank you, Aubrey. And the road to rediscovery is almost perfect because my journey is about a road.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the name is fitting as well. I mean, there's some things I'm sure that we'll unpack here that you will share insights in your rediscovery, from that traumatic event, and we're going to unpack some of these. And to open us up, Naseem, if you don't mind, I hate to ask this, but I just have to know, being a spouse myself, okay, I just have to know, as you were walking towards your husband's car, was your husband there witnessing all this happening to his wife?
He did. I was in a pedestrian crosswalk,
Yeah.
crossing the street to my husband who's picking me up after a day of work.
Hmm.
And a car started coming towards me. I yelled, and he looked up from his phone because
Yeah.
he was parked
Mhm.
and saw the car hit me, and then saw the car drive forward over me, reverse over me, and then drive over me a third time. So he watched the whole thing, and I could hear his cries,
Yeah.
kept me alive, but also as I heard him, I knew he was watching me die.
Oh my Lord, my goodness. I can't begin to fathom, and forgive me, but I'm old school. And, to having to hold in sickness and in health, and the role of a husband to protect, and in most cases to be willing to put his life on the line for his wife, his children. Again, that's just how I was raised, and to have that role and to be passionate about what that role means while seeing this unfold before my eyes as a husband. It's absolutely heartbreaking, powerless, helpless. I mean, because all this is happening, I'm so very sorry that, I mean, the way this has unfolded like this, Naseem. Um, did you feel at one point, or did your husband feel at one point that, I don't know, maybe because I don't know, to me, just the maliciousness of it 3 times. Was
Well,
there some intent or
it's
targeting?
interesting, Aubrey, because I so there wasn't it wasn't a hit. I joke, my husband
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
taking it out on me. Was it it was a lot of bad judgment in the moment,
I see.
and,
Maybe
you
panic or
know
shock?
I think so. The driver has never apologized or acknowledged,
Mm,
so that has is really been salt in the wounds for me.
sure.
However, I didn't in the beginning, and even I don't feel ill will because it wasn't on purpose,
Right.
but I think her actions or lack of apology or empathy has has been really tough,
Mm,
to
yeah.
navigate. For
Yeah,
my husband, from that very moment, though, there was more I don't know if I wanna use the word anger, but
yeah.
frustration and sadness, when the driver so he was watching, there were other people watching, all
Yeah.
screaming, "Just stop driving," and
Right,
when
right.
she finally stopped, the driver was almost like a toddler having a tantrum, just screaming, and I remember my husband saying to her, "Don't you even care what you've done?"
Right,
Because
right.
she had no interest in, my state, and he is such a caring person that he was thinking about me, but thinking about how can she not even care about me?
Right, right. I mean, where's the just the
It's humanity.
basic, yeah, humanity, compassion, right? For your fellow human
Yeah.
there, and
That was very hard for him, you know?
yeah, and
I think it was hard for a lot of the people that were there in the moment
yeah.
watching.
No, I got you. I got you. Yeah, it would have to be. I mean, that's very, very tough to even imagine, much less see in real life happening before your eyes. So, a couple things I wanted to kind of touch on this as we go down this journey, Naseem, and then we'll talk about your transformation as well. Is um, You mentioned that hearing your husband and his screams during this happening, it 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 was one of the things that kind of kept you alive, right? Were there any thoughts after the first hit that
Oh,
differed from the second, that different from the third, and then at the point when you're trapped, then I don't know. I would think as a husband, I would say, please don't move, please don't move, please don't move. You're just trapped, and when you're trapped, you don't want the driver to move at all,
yeah,
reverse, forward, or nothing, right? I mean,
yeah.
did your feelings start to change, or thoughts start
Yes.
to change
I
from
mean,
each hit?
in those moments, as I'm sure people have said before me,
Yeah,
everything is in slow motion.
yeah.
So I vividly, and I was conscious throughout the event, remember, having so many conversations with myself. It actually started the first time she hit me, because when she first hit me, I was standing
Mhm.
and I had been having a fantastic day.
Yeah, yeah,
And I remember thinking, wow, you're hitting me on this day where I'm having this fabulous day.
yeah.
But I was still standing. My husband wasn't panicked at that time. I wasn't panicked. I mean, it wasn't great that a car hit me, but I was okay.
Right, right.
And it was when she drove over me that started screaming. He started screaming.
Yeah,
But those first screams were like, oh, like, what is going on? This car is running over me.
right.
And, I was trying to wiggle around, trying to get out from underneath it.
Yeah.
But it was when she drove over me the second time
Uh-huh.
that, I could hear my husband's screams change.
Yeah,
And I could sense that something was really wrong in this moment.
yeah.
It was the second time she drove over me that I thought, "Wow, I'm not getting out of this."
Mm,
Because I could hear it in my husband's screams and the screams of the other people there.
right.
And that's when I really reflected on life, on, my 3 kids,
Yeah,
on, just had those near death moments, which
Mhm.
I'm actually quite grateful to have experienced and still have life runway ahead of me.
Yeah.
Um, but it was a very distinct journey in each of those phases, as you noted. And then when the car drove over me a third time, it actually jogged me back to the moment that I was in.
Yeah.
And interestingly, when it brought me back that third time, I had reflected on my life. I had, kind of come to terms with the fact that I wasn't going to make it.
Mhm.
And that third time I was actually just felt tired
Yeah.
and done, because the car had driven over me 3 times. I had the tires go over me 5 times.
Oh
The
my
tires
gosh.
even went over my head and my neck.
Oh my gosh.
And it was interesting because I wasn't feeling pain
Right.
in that moment. I was so lost in my thoughts.
Yeah.
But then when the car stopped,
Mhm.
all of the pain started rushing in.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh my goodness. Yeah. That Oh, what an experience. My goodness. So, okay, at some point then, when she stopped that third time and you felt all the pain come through, at some point, obviously EMS and
Yeah,
emergency units are called. You are taken to the hospital. Can you kind of just kind of walk us through that? Um,
absolutely. So when the car finally stopped and I was pinned underneath the car, as you noted,
yeah.
because we were on a hill,
Hmm.
the police and the ambulance and everyone had to put airbags underneath the tires. So I was actually under the car for probably about 12 minutes or so.
Oh my.
And it was actually interesting, the experience and the variety of thoughts I had in that moment. So I went from, first just the pain at hearing my husband's voice, not
Yeah.
knowing, neither of us had any idea whether I was going to survive. I mean, I was alive, but I couldn't move my body. I could wiggle my fingers.
Yeah.
My face felt like it had been ripped off. And,
Mhm.
and I was, I wasn't paralyzed, but I was paralyzed. I couldn't move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I remember, um, after those initial moments that the me that is so used to juggling work and the kids and running everything
Yeah.
returned, and I started saying, honey, did you get my purse, did you get my
Yeah.
iPhone, and started worrying about all of those
Yeah.
day-to-day things.
Right.
And then finally, when they did take the car off me and they longboarded me and put me in the ambulance, took me to the hospital.
Yeah.
There was about an hour and a half where they were doing all the tests, and I think that was actually probably the hardest 90 minutes of my husband's life and my kids' life,
Okay.
because at that point, they knew I was run over 3 times,
Yeah.
and they had no information as to what state I was in.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was really hard. I mean, my I
Yeah.
it
Yeah. The element of uncertainty
yeah,
can really take us for a ride in speculation, right?
yeah,
Yeah. And though a lot of us don't like to speculate, especially if we're put on the spot and we're asked the question, is she going to survive? What's wrong with her? Um, as a loved one, we can't help but speculate because we it's our mind's way of telling us we want some certainty, you know.
yes, I know, and,
Yeah.
interesting you brought that up. So my kids at the time, my daughter, was 13 and my 2 sons were 11 and 9,
Hmm.
and my daughter just stepped up and, all of a sudden had to take control of so many things, too many things for a 13-year-old, and one of the things that was happening is my sons were saying to her, "Is life ever gonna be the same?" She was putting them to bed at night,
Yeah.
and she had to say yes, even though she had no
Had
idea.
no idea. Oh my.
It was a lot on her.
Wow. 13. Bless her
I know,
heart.
I know.
Yeah,
She
but it seems like she grabbed ownership of it,
she
to
did.
toe the line, so to speak, and contribute. as a family member, knowing these things with life in our family must continue, although we love our mother dearly. We miss her. We miss our mother dearly. We hope she comes back very, very much so. But again, like you said, having no idea at the
Yeah.
time. I mean, nor did the doctors, right? So that's an awful lot for a 13-year-old to go through, and that's some quick maturing and growing up, yeah, without a doubt. So during the physical recovery, okay, knowing that that was extremely long and hard and painful, um, tell us about how your recovery was mentally, navigating through the trauma, self doubt, confusion,
Oh,
anger, just a myriad of feelings, I would imagine, and maybe even some nocturnal images in your head, of the event, just
you were
subconsciously.
spot on. The physical, the mental was much harder to deal with than the physical.
Hmm.
So I miraculously did not break any bones.
Wow.
I know. So because no bones were broken, I mean, my face, I had to have stitches all over my face. I had
Right.
surgery on my eye.
Right.
My body was bruised, lots of internal injuries.
Sure.
But because no bones were broken, they actually didn't admit me into the hospital.
Mhm.
So 24 hours, less than 24 hours later, I was at home. And I say that nothing was broken, but I was completely broken.
Yeah.
I couldn't walk, I couldn't see, I couldn't move, I couldn't bear light, I couldn't think. Like I just was, you know, as we said a minute ago, like mom was gone. Mom
Yeah.
might have been physically there, but
Yeah.
she was also, I was gone. And the physical parts, we it wasn't easy, but we were able to navigate, doctors and, physical therapy at home and start to figure out how to mend some of those things.
Yes.
Although
Yes.
even that was there's no playbook, and, things would just pop up. Like one day I would worry about what caused the most pain that day,
Right.
and we were figuring things out even for years. But the
So
mental
mhm,
was really very, very difficult
mm,
because I pride myself on being a positive person, being able to solve problems. I've always thought I can think my way out of everything. I'm
yeah,
two master's degrees, I
yeah,
work hard, I have good mind, and I can think my way out of it.
mhm,
But I couldn't think my way out of this. I couldn't.
yeah,
My operating system had changed. My mind, I couldn't do simple things to operate. I remember my husband, he stayed home for the first couple of weeks, and, I sent him back to work and thought that I could navigate. But I remember he asked me to fill out a camp form for my 9-year-old. That's like
mhm.
name, tell me about your kid. That's
Right, right.
all a camp form is.
Yeah, yeah.
I laid in bed for hours and cried because I
Mhm.
was afraid to do it.
It's so
Those things that I could never have imagined or predicted. And it took me a long time. I actually still am not good at it. I still have some kind of panic attack when it comes to filling out forms.
yeah,
I don't listen to voicemail. The whole way I think and manage chaos or, multitasking has
yeah,
changed.
yeah,
And, accepting that, or even in the beginning, recognizing that was not something I was willing to do. I kept trying to figure out how do I problem solve my way out of this?
right, right.
And, there's no playbook for these kinds of moments.
No, there certainly isn't, right? And to me, with the recovery that you were going through, Naseem, um, from the mental or psychological aspect, I think there were maybe two varying degrees uh, of the mental struggle. Um, Obviously, there's the mental struggle uh, of following this regimen of recovery and therapy exercises, and following that each day so you can walk, you can have and recovered motor skills and things like that. And so just trying to, get through that to function, that's just like, I don't know, kind of following doctor's orders on what's prescribed to
Yeah.
do for the physical motion skills. So there's a mental aspect in having to drill yourself to do that each day. And then there's the second mental aspect of just the fact that you are limited, just the fact that the condition that you're in now is in contrast of the persona that that you carry through of yourself before this event, and realizing in that moment in time that you're not able to carry through that persona of being the multitasker, being
Yeah.
the solver, right, and doing multiple things at once, and figuring out very complex uh, uh, situations and problems.
And you
Uh,
bring up a very good point, there is the person that I was before, in addition to being the multitasker, was also a person that didn't show or ask for help. And,
yes,
as you know, when these things happen, people wanna help. They wanted to drive my kids and bring me dinners and
yes,
support me, and
yes,
I was so uncomfortable with that, Aubrey.
mm,
It felt like they were, it made me feel weak,
yes,
and I didn't know how to accept any help. But
mm,
then a couple of really interesting things happened. One, very tragic, my brother lost his dog.
oh,
Now he
sorry
loved
about
his dog very much, and I
yeah,
love my brother very much, and
yes,
so when I saw him in pain, even though I couldn't open my eyes or even pick up the phone to call him or do anything, I felt like he's in pain and I wanna help him.
yes,
And that happening so close to my accident helped me realize that just like I wanted to help him, people needed to help me. The
mm,
accident didn't just happen to me.
right,
It happened to everyone that loved me.
yes,
It happened to my family, it happened to my friends, and they needed some way to participate in the healing.
yes,
They needed to do something active.
yes,
And I did not it was very hard for me to know how to let them, without feeling weak or like a victim. But
right,
luckily, the second thing that happened that really helped me reframe that how I spoke about my journey and my accident at that time. I started seeing a trauma therapist who taught
mhm,
me about the art and philosophy of kintsugi, where
mhm,
you take a broken piece of pottery and you put it back together with a gold inlay, celebrating the cracks in the piece,
yes,
celebrating the journey of the piece. I
yes,
really latched onto that because I thought, my accident is now part of my journey.
mhm,
It doesn't have to mean that I'm a victim.
right, exactly,
And was able to, once I grasped that concept and the strength that that offered me, I started sharing my journey, not as a victim, but as this is what's happened.
right,
This is where I am in the journey, and learned that as I shared where I was in the journey, I could then share my progress in the journey.
yes.
And it also opened up the conversation for other people to share things that were going on in their lives, and as you know, everybody's got something going on.
They sure do. They sure do. I
We
mean, we all do, right?
all do.
Yeah, yeah. There are several virtues that I've heard in what you just shared with us, Naseem. One of those is transparency. So, I really appreciate you sharing the fact that you have become transparent in using this story to share to others for inspiration and to drive home the fact that you're not a victim, nor are you viewing yourself as one, right? I mean, just a whole reframed way of thinking. It's a mindset shift. The second virtue that I heard you mention, or at least that kind of resounded to me as you were explaining this, is vulnerability. And so I want to, speaking of vulnerability, I wanted to run this by you, okay? Because on your website, there was something that I read from you that kind of it really resonated with me, and I'd love if you can share, for the benefit of the listeners, some insight on this in retrospect. Okay, because in your whole journey, it seems like you have really taken an introspective look at what you've gone through and what you knew of yourself before the event, during the event, and now after the event in recovery, all for reflection and growth. So, here's what I read, and it really resounded with me. I just want to see what your take is on this. So, this was in an area on your website called "Vulnerability Trumps Fabulous,"
Oh,
and
yeah.
so initially you mentioned waking up that morning feeling fabulous, strong, and
Yeah.
and and always having the ability, like you said, to make tough things look easy. Now, you later mention, after the event in your physical recovery, um, the dismantling of the fabulous facade that you so carefully constructed. Now, having said that, I personally, I can't help but feel that you at some point discovered strength in your journey, in that vulnerability. And in hindsight of it all, basically, I want to ask you, what is your assessment on your idea of fabulous as you look at hindsight?
Well, so I now think of vulnerability as a dimension of strength.
Okay, wonderful.
That transparency and vulnerability is not necessarily just about us,
Right.
but it's about being strong enough to understand and recognize that people need to be part of our journey.
Yes. Yes.
And that is a dimension of strength that I think we so often don't think about or haven't realized,
Hmm.
haven't, accepted.
Right.
And I have found that once I realized that the transparency and the vulnerability is not just for me, but it's for other people as well,
Yeah.
it allowed me to then, it allowed me to have deeper, closer relationships.
Yeah.
Because when I just show the facade of fabulous, of where I'm juggling everything, and it's never that I meant it to be a facade, it's just what I knew in how I projected strength and competence was juggling it all, not asking for help, being the helper.
Yeah.
But what I was missing was the connection that vulnerability enables. Because when you're going through hard things, it's like social media.
Yeah.
When you see people on social media and everything is fabulous, you feel a distance with them. Well, they're just living fabulous. How do they understand me?
Right.
How do they connect with me?
Yeah.
Or, how why are they lucky and I'm not, Um, but once you start sharing, more transparent, living your life with more transparency,
Mhm.
you allow people in and to relate. And that was such a gift for me, to realize that just by being more honest about who I was and where my journey was and, how I was navigating those, tough things,
Yeah.
it I still feel like my life is fabulous,
Oh, of course. Yes.
but it's more honest and my relationships are better. And so when I say, vulnerability trumps fabulous, it's about opening up yourself.
Right. Yeah. No, I completely see that, and you are opening yourself, and not saying that before the event you were any less authentic or less genuine, or any less humble. I mean, I feel you're true authentic throughout, even before this happened. But was there there's some element of where, I don't know, you almost kind of debunked fabulousness, and where it now takes a back seat and vulnerability takes a front seat, to open yourself up more? I mean,
Yeah, there was actually.
yeah,
So there was a journey and also a moment. So,
yeah,
through the recovery, just the sharing that I talked about, and then people sharing back, and the celebration of the incremental wins and things like that.
yeah, yeah,
So that was, I could feel the value of that.
yeah.
Then something else happened that really shined a light on that, that facade of fabulousness. Somebody
Mhm.
said to me, you were I didn't really like you much, you were an unsympathetic character.
Mm,
And it really that really opened up my eyes to, it's not that, I mean, I didn't think I was so different before the accident.
right,
I just wasn't showing it. I just wasn't sharing it.
right.
And
Yeah,
that simple change has been so meaningful in the depth of conversations and relationships, not just with, my close friends, but with people around me. Sometimes people in line for coffee, or, at a
yeah,
soccer game,
yeah.
you just sharing and being able to laugh at, sometimes what maybe is making your day hard, but can still be ridiculous and, shareable.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, and being again transparent and vulnerable enough to laugh at ourselves and not take ourselves so seriously, when something goofy happens. And like I guess, like the point I was trying to make before, it's not that you were any less humble or less genuine or less authentic before all this happened, but and thank you for clarifying it. You articulated it so gracefully. You just didn't reveal it, show it, you know. And now with a almost a whole new rediscovered perspective, on life, on interacting with others, on just how you perceive things, just in your everyday, you know observations, uh, things that you're doing and conversations that you're having is speaking volumes to those around you now, it seems like, yeah. And can you remind us once again? You said there were two things that kind of turned things around for you, as far as helping, or as far as
Helping
wanting
me
to
to
help your
problem
brother
solving.
and the
Yes, and the
problem
other one,
solving.
kintsugi.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Kintsugi?
CB. Okay.
Kintsugi, so it's the philosophy and the art of taking a broken piece of pottery and putting
Yeah.
it back together with the gold inlay. Those 2 things were, when I said there was no playbook,
Yeah.
those 2 things helped me have a framework of how to move forward. You
Yes.
know,
Nice.
accept my incident, my accident as part of my journey, and recognize there's a strength in that, and that sharing and showing I need help
Yep.
is about me and other people. Because sometimes it's hard to
Mm,
just feel like it's and maybe I do that, to protect my own ego, because sometimes feeling like you need help can make you feel a little insecure. But when you're a person that normally is in control, recognizing that it's also about someone else makes it a
yes.
little easier to accept and navigate.
Oh, completely right. I mean, because uh, when to me, help and trust goes hand in hand. So when you need help, you need, I mean, it really pays to be around loved ones that you can trust, who genuinely want to help, and so uh, giving them that opportunity to help because they care for you so much, because to your point, there's a degree of process that they have to go through
Yes.
in how this event has impacted them,
Yeah.
that they need to express it somehow. And so
Exactly.
you're giving them that opportunity by realizing this, that it's not just happening to me, it's happening to my loved ones as
Yeah.
well, and they're here to help me just as I would help them, just as I want to help my brother in the passing
Exactly.
of his dog, of his pet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're letting them
which
actively participate in the journey.
100%. And again, that also speaks volumes to your loved ones as well, for sure. So, Naseem, when others, people you've talked to in different keynotes and any public speaking events that you've had, um, maybe even book signings, when you're talking with other people who find themselves, let's say, in the throes of trauma, pain, despair. I mean, it can be so seemingly insurmountable that they can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
They're just really, really immersed in this despair because it's right in front of them, right?
Yeah.
So, what type of guidance or maybe insight would you share with someone going through this in the present moment to where they can look beyond the trees
Yeah.
to find calm and resolve?
I'm gonna be honest. These moments are hard,
Yeah,
and you can't magically make them easy.
yeah,
But there are things that you can remember that will that I believe will give you hope
yes,
and energy to move forward. One of those things is realizing you own your own story, you own your narrative. Like, we decided to make the day of my accident, May 21st, a holiday. We call it
yes,
Unbreakable Day.
that's right,
And we were taking the ownership back of that day. It wasn't the day I almost died.
right,
It's the day I survived.
yep,
Just switching the way we speak about that moment has, it's such power in,
yes,
in how we think about it. So all of a sudden it's become a happy thing. I survived.
yes,
The other thing that I think is really important is to not, when you're going through a tough moment, don't expect to go from life is tough to everything's perfect or like it
right,
used to be.
yes,
Recognize and celebrate and share those incremental steps.
mhm,
Once I started sharing my journey again, and I'm not going to, I'm like, let's use the kintsugi mindset of not a victim, but this
right,
is what I'm going through.
yes,
I was able to share those, what I call them, like the little wins or the milestones.
mhm,
Once I could tell my friends that, or, tell people that I'm not climbing the stairs, or that, I can't stand my arm, my nerve damage is so bad that I can't hold a coffee cup.
yeah,
You don't know those things about me. When I text you and say, "I'm holding a coffee cup," you're gonna be like, "Why is she texting me that?" Like, what's the big deal? But if you know where I started my journey, and
yes,
you can celebrate that milestone, it brings energy, and it gives
mm,
people hope, like it gave my kids hope that
yes,
things were moving forward.
yes, yes, and who else can appreciate that other than those who have been on the journey with you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it also promotes, this is a mantra that I kind of picked up for myself, at the start of 2025, okay? And I'm trying to live by this mantra, and I'm gonna try to do it for the rest of my days, but it's simply put, be present, be intentional, and it puts you in the present moment of the journey, whether it's a struggle or a win, and it allows you to enjoy and or suffer and process whatever it is you're going through at the present moment to appreciate the milestones, right? To appreciate the wins, as you mentioned in the Kasigi method, and your children and your other loved ones are enjoying and appreciating that as well, because they are going through it with you. This is
Yeah, and what you
beautiful.
realize too is that people, sometimes people need a proxy, for their own,
Sure.
for their own milestones that they hope to achieve. And maybe they're not where they want to be,
Mhm.
but remembering and seeing other people go through tough things and watching them navigate helps you realize that that you can get through tough things.
Right.
There is a happy story. It takes a little work,
Yeah.
but it's possible. And just knowing it's possible is a really big deal in those tough times.
No, it truly is. And in the people that you've encountered, and I'm talking, this is extending beyond your nucleus of loved ones who have gone with you through this journey. But in those that you have shared your story with, you know, who knows the countless number of people that you may have planted that seed to anything that they are suffering or going through, any struggle that they're suffering and going through after meeting you, feeling your energy, hearing your story, and seeing how you are today compared to what you've shared with them or what they've experienced with you, if for a loved one, they better appreciate where you are today, and they better they I think it's a seed planted in them to transform themselves from whatever struggle they're going through.
Hopefully. I mean, that's why I wrote the book,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
if there's something that I can share to help pay it forward, I wanted to, it's like writing a memoir and sharing everything about your life.
Yes.
This is never my intention, but I
Yeah.
do hope it's helped some people. I think one of the things that I often hear is, um, just recognizing that, sometimes in these traumas, there are demarcation points, and you may never be the person that you were before the trauma,
Right.
but that's okay. You
Yeah.
don't have to be.
Right. Right. And that's a point of assurance that you are establishing and proclaiming.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the same person. In fact, I don't know if there's much expectation after such a traumatic event and surviving a traumatic event to be the same person. I mean, and whether it's for the worse or for the better, I mean, that's a higher power, that goes through that. I can't speak to that, but in how you reflect in what you've gone through and what you've learned, I mean, you're so grounded and just willing to open yourself up for the benefit of helping others, inspiring others. I must commend you, Naseem, for just the great work that you're doing. And I know you and I in this conversation, we just scratched the surface of the great stuff that you have been doing and helping other people, and the points of realization that you've had within your introspection in going through this, and then the things that you've learned, you've applied, because it's so obvious, because like you said, someone mentioned to you, um, I thought you were such a distant person before, or whatever they said. I mean, that's an unsolicited observation that they shared with you, that can make you stop and think, okay, was I that way? I don't think so. And like you said, you just didn't reveal it. You didn't show it. I mean, it doesn't mean you weren't humble. Doesn't mean you weren't authentic. I mean, you were all those things. So, with that said, Nassim, um, in maybe a short sentence of 5 words or less, maybe, um, can you answer for me and for
Mhm.
the listeners, what is Naseem Rochette's identity today?
Oh, wow. I would say joy seeker,
Joy seeker. I
joy
love that.
seeker,
I
and
love that.
reframer.
And reframer.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Um,
that's
would you
it. I'm
yeah,
I'm simple.
man, that's
I want to live.
mhm,
I live with joy. I pursue joy. I in all parts of
yes,
my life, and I believe in the power of our words and
yes,
how we choose our narrative and how we deal with people, and spreading a positive energy. Doesn't mean
yes,
everything's perfect all the time, but it means
yeah.
that we try hard to bring good energy
Oh,
and lift people
yeah,
up.
yeah,
This T-shirt, I don't even know who said it, but there's a quote on it. We rise by lifting others, and I believe.
100%. Yes, I agree. I mean, I usually go by a similar phrase that says, "A rising tide raises all ships." But but the same applies, right? And so having the intention for joy, the intention for living in the present moment, the intention just to be happy, right? The simplest things in life can just manifest in us a wonderful, energetic, happy, fulfilled existence while we're here in this short time on earth, right? That is absolutely wonderful to hear, Naseem. And for my one of my last questions here, um, if you could answer in a few words, what makes Naseem Rochette unbreakable?
I think it's recognizing that breaking doesn't mean you're broken. Mm.
Recognizing the breaking doesn't mean you're broken,
Yeah,
makes you unbreakable.
absolutely.
It's
We all go through
recognizing.
stuff, but,
Yes.
we all go through it and then we navigate it. As
Yes.
long as we know we're not, it's not the end.
Yes. Hey, that that makes sense. It makes complete sense. Me myself, I have to kind of stop and think about it, but I'm past that now. It makes sense. But for the listeners' benefit, I just want to share with you, okay, uh, the the ability to recognize that if you're broke, if you break, that doesn't mean you're broken.
Right.
Having the ability to recognize that can make you unbreakable. The
Yes.
ability to recognize that.
To
So for
it's
all
back to the kintsugi,
back to
appreciate
Kintsugi.
the journey.
Yes, appreciate the journey, not playing the victim. You are not broken. We're all human. There
Mhm.
are things that happen to us which may appear to break us, but that doesn't mean we're broken. And
Exactly.
that's the message that Naseem is sharing with us this evening in her story, in her book. Naseem Rochette, it's such a pleasure having you on the show. How can the listeners like follow you and connect with you and learn more about your great work and pick up a copy of your book?
Yeah, so the book is available on Amazon or I guess wherever you buy books, and you can, buy the paperback or hardcover or a Kindle, but you can also, if you want to do the Audible, I narrate it.
Oh, audiobook. Nice.
And then
Yeah.
you can find me at naseemrochette.com, but if you don't remember that because it's not an easy name, lifeunbreakable.com.
Wonderful. We will put both website addresses in the episode show notes. We will also put a link to the Amazon link to the book in the episode show notes. This has been a lovely conversation, and you have really shared with us some incredible insights after having gone through such an unthinkable, tragic event. Naseem Rochette, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really, really appreciate you opening yourself up, sharing your story with us, giving great insight for the listeners. And I hope we can stay in touch and maybe bring you on the show at a future date.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Aubrey. Thanks
Oh,
everybody for listening.
oh, thank you. Yes, it's our pleasure. We reciprocate. And for all of you, I want to thank you all for tuning in and listening. And look, you may feel like this at times, but in our daily struggles and adversities, we're never alone. Hope is always around the corner. And I humbly ask that you please share this show with someone you know, someone you love who needs motivation, inspiration, and support. And when it all comes down to it, we're all just roadies on this journey of life, but it feels good having you on the road with me. Thanks again for listening. We'll chat again soon. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of The Road to Rediscovery. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email at roadtorediscoverypodcast@gmail.com and leave us any questions or comments you may have. The Road to Rediscovery is an AJ Shark production.